talk about a couple of news stories for my podcast, Outspoken, and my wonderful featured guest, Brian O'Shea, disclosure, my husband, also with me here in the blizzard of 2026, this ostensibly very, very serious blizzard, which is just basically some snow so far. We're going to talk about a couple of things that are going on in New York specifically. And I'm going to start with one of the first things, which is the fact, as I mentioned, that Zohran Mamdani is our very scary Islamist Marxist mayor is declaring a local state of emergency. And I'm sharing my screen. This is from nyc.gov/mayor's office. So this is right from the mayor's office. He's declaring a local state of emergency, a snow day for New York City public schools to keep New Yorkers safe. I just want to call your attention first to this graphic. You know that I was a political consultant and for the Clinton reelection campaign in 96 and for Gore 2000. And my then husband was a speechwriter for the Clintons. And, ever since then, I've really paid a lot of attention to imagery, to political imagery. It's important. These photo ops, people think about them. And if they don't think about them, they lose, and they should think about them. So it's there. I've commented before on the visuals of the Mamdani administration. I've commented, for instance, on how he wears a Mao jacket from time to time. He also cosplays as a Pakistani, imam in a shalwar kameez at times. Other times he eats with his hands. There's a lot of putting on of different personas. His mother, of course, is a famous filmmaker, Mira Nair. And he's basically in costume. I've talked about the costume he wore most of the campaign, which is his campaign, which was an outfit from 1963. Weird, right? And it was like a brown jacket, a button-down shirt, and a thin tie. And it was exactly the kind of outfit that the Freedom Riders used to wear, that RFK Jr. used to wear, that young man, idealistic, liberal aesthetic from 1963. And he dressed like that all the way throughout, even though no one who's a 31-year-old, however old he is, Brooklynite or Queens inhabitant dresses like that for real. No one. So here he's cosplaying, emergency press conference. You got to remember, as I said at the start of the last hour, he was badly criticized for mishandling the last blizzard. And so he's clearly trying to get ahead of that. And I've talked at the start of this, of the last hour, about crazy things he's planning to do, or weird things he's planning to do, including to create an army of random people, New Yorkers. Maybe they're New Yorkers, maybe they're not New Yorkers, right? Who are going to make between $19 and $28 an hour shoveling snow. I mentioned that, and this undercuts the unions, and where's our equipment that we spent millions on that usually clears our snow. I've talked about how he weirdly is telling shop owners that they need to dig out the bus stops, which is, again, the city's job. And if they don't do it, he'll fine them. Doesn't matter if they're disabled, doesn't matter if they're elderly or female and can't, he's going to fine them. So Brian pointed out rightly, I'm recapping, that that's another kind of blow against property owners. Another way to make it difficult to be a property owner, let alone a small business in New York. But now let's just take a minute and look at this graphic. So these are, it's not really clear who these people are. This guy on the far left in the back is related to the schools, school chancellor, thank you. But they're all wearing a special parka. to me, it's weird that the women on the left look so grim. I think that they've been given instructions to look resolute, but the left doesn't do resolute very well. So they look extremely depressed.
Well, they're vegans.
They're vegans. That's right. This is Brian O'Shea. And to me, it seems odd that the women are holding their hands clasped. Everyone's clearly told to, everyone's doing it, clasp their hands in front of them. Democrats have been doing that a lot. I don't know why. It looks very unnatural and awkward. It looks non-gendered. Women don't organically stand that way. I don't think men organically stand that way either. Tiny children who are being scolded stand that way. But they're ranged around this baby Islamist Marxist mayor, and they're supposed to be giving him a background that says gravitas, here's the team, they're on it, but they look so unwell. I mean, his team really always, just doesn't, they look ill. They look like they just rolled out of bed. I'm not talking about these people, other people on his staff. And I'm not being like looksist at all. It's just such a stark contrast between like the administration, where everyone always looks, very well dressed, well groomed, polished, ready for prime time visually. So, that's what I see here. And these people look depressed. They look like they are not confident that they're going to be able to manage this. The other thing I want to mention, and then honey, I'd love it if you.
Yeah, but I have to set up the producer side of this. So I'm
really?
with you in spirit. Just
okay.
keep rolling.
All right. Well, sweetheart, people can't see you. You're cut off there.
Oh, well,
yeah.
There we go.
There we go. All right.
Hey, people.
Brian O'Shea.
I mean that in a non-communist sense.
So the other thing that I want to start out with is that I'd like to talk to you about what it means to have, I want to talk to you about the national security issue involved in being cut off from the rest of the country. Sweetheart, you don't have to produce. I have it all called up here. I'd rather you just chatted with us. That's how we do Outspoken.
Men, you know what I'm going through right now. That's fine. What do you, the national security danger? Sure.
I mean, have you ever heard a directive? And to just remind everyone, Mamdani said you can't drive. You're not allowed to go on the street in a vehicle, but his vehicles are on the street.
Well, I have heard such a directive in The Dark Knight Rises.
Tell me about
when
that.
the supervillain Bane takes over Gotham, which is New York.
Excuse me. Let me turn this off. I'm sorry. Keep telling people about Bane.
Well, basically what he does is, I'm sure most of you have seen the movie, but it's, Bane, the character, he's kind of like the strong man, kind of represents the communist dictator, super bad guy working for other super bad guys. But the first thing they do is they take out the mayor, the existing mayor.
How do they take him out?
They blow up his skybox at the NFL game. And then they have the entire city laced with explosives underground. So they blow up all the main roads, and then they blow up all the bridges. And I think, what do we have, 5 bridges here?
I think so.
Yeah, there's 5 bridges in Gotham too. So they blow them all up. And then they let all the people out of jail and say, you could join the army, but start by tearing down this prison, and freeing the oppressed. And so, yeah, we have seen that. And he lets the people know, hey, I've got a nuke. And if you try to leave, we're going to detonate it. And then he tells the National Guard, who shows up on the other side of the bridge, they're like, you think you could stop the National Guard? And they're like, we don't have to. You're going to keep the people from leaving, or we're going to detonate the nuke. So basically, it does go to show how easy it is to cut off this city. You just shut down the bridges. There's no walking out of Manhattan. I think people forget it's an island.
Yeah, people do forget that it's an island.
And, that rolls into something else with, this isn't so much, well, yeah, it kind of is. Like in Bane, that whole scene is kind of like the 1917 revolution mixed with a couple of other historical events. But they rip the you know, the liars and the rich from their decadent beds. And you see the doormen, they don't get attacked by the mob. They join the mob because they're the working class.
Right.
And they take everything over. And
That's
he says,
quite a Marxist storyline for Hollywood.
You've never actually watched the whole thing. You should see it. And then they have the police trapped in the sewers, and they say, you know,
hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf with Daily Cloud. I am here with some good news. Well, first I want to ask you something. Have you ever noticed how Washington seems to play by one set of rules and everyday Americans are stuck with another set? Because for decades, there has been a two-tier financial system in this country. The political class and their donors get access to the best financial opportunities, to private deals, special investments, insider advantages. And ordinary Americans, they're told to stick with the same tired retirement options and to earn next to nothing and to hope inflation doesn't wipe them out. That wasn't an accident. I believe that was policy, but something has changed. Under President Trump, that system finally got challenged. With his executive order 14330, President Trump opened the door for ordinary Americans to access investment opportunities that were previously reserved for the wealthy and well-connected, especially involving retirement accounts. No lobbyists, no special connections, just the same rules for everyone. And that matters right now because America is in the middle of a massive AI and infrastructure build out, one that President Trump has made a national priority. Not speculation, not hype. It's real infrastructure with real capital, so real money is moving. And there's one AI-linked income opportunity I've been following, presented by our sponsors, that's positioned to benefit directly from this shift without forcing you to guess which tech stock is going to win. If you want to see how it works and see why this policy change matters so much, learn more at www.oxfordplan.com. Because for the first time in a long time, Washington didn't just talk about helping the middle class, it actually moved the rules in their favor. Discover Washington's two-tier system at www.oxfordplan.com. Again, that's www.oxfordplan.com.
An army will be raised, riches will be, spoils will be enjoyed.
Oh my God.
He said courts will be convened. He said the police will survive as they learn to serve true justice. And it goes on and on. So what you see happening here is that's not happening, I hope. But you do see a lot of things like New York City, even before Mamdani, has kind of acted like its own country. And so, for instance, my friend Dexter Taylor, who is sitting in an upstate prison right now for legally assembling firearms, he got raided by the SWAT team years after he applied for his license from ATF. Everything was good. And I asked him, I said, why would they raid you now? He said, well, the midterms are coming up.
Oh my God.
And I'm a Black Republican in the heart of Brooklyn. That's all he could figure. He had no criminal record, no nothing. Great guy, really smart. And then at his court case, the New York judge, when his lawyer, his defense lawyer, started making his argument on Second Amendment grounds, the judge stops the lawyer and says, there is no Second Amendment in my courtroom.
Oh my God.
So I think what people need to understand, the danger that we're facing here is the danger everyone is facing, no matter where you are in the country, possibly the world. And I put a graphic.
What do you mean by that? Like,
I'm
what
about
is
to explain.
Okay, please.
And there's a graphic I put up on my X profile. You can find that at Brian O'Shea, SBI. Kind of lays it out. We're the 13th largest GDP in the world. If we were our own country, and I wouldn't want that to happen because that would mean some communists took over, some worse thing, we could have an army of 100,000 people based on the density of the population. I think New York has probably and just the city alone has one of the largest populations in the country. It also controls all of the trading and the indexes, and some of the major banks of the country and the world are here in New York. And it's also one of the major ports, not only for the East Coast, Port Elizabeth down in Jersey and up, but also for Canada and lots of international trade.
So what's the headline here?
Well, the headline is, when the danger of locking it down, it kind of signifies, whether that's in our imaginations or not, but it does remind you, if this city gets cut off from the country,
it's like cutting the head off of an animal.
It's like cutting the head off, but the head survives and starts growing its own body.
Oh my God.
And that's why I say to people when they're like, oh, tried to warn you, New York, and all these morons.
So annoying.
I tell them, I'm like, I don't think you really get it. Like, the way these 50 states work is together. There's different organs. Every state has its purpose, or most states, probably not Rhode Island, but no offense, Rhode Island. But the thing is, no, and I'm sure they do too. Every state has its purpose, including interconnecting highways and rail stations.
Right.
And if you cut out one of the major organs, and I would say New York City kind of represents maybe the brain. And possibly the circulatory system. So if you cut that off and it starts aligning with other countries, well, Trump's not going to just have to worry about getting Greenland and keeping Canada happy. Now you've got a perforated state, which history has shown never survives. The Union can't survive losing something like New York. And so that's the point. This should show people how easily America can come in, with less than 50% of the vote total, and have control of the brain trust of America, and that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, terrifying. So one of the things I called attention to, it really fits with what you were just describing, honey, is at the beginning of the last hour, is why I'm freaked out that he's calling for a state of emergency for a snowstorm. And I'm going to read you a quote. And remember, he's an Islamist Marxist, and his administration are connected to...
which is a oxymoron, but yes.
But here we are. His administration, as you know better than I do, many of the people he chose deliberately, and they have ties to terrorists. They have ties to terrorists who want to do us harm. And just yesterday, or the day before, 2 days ago, yesterday, there was a giant event in Times Square of hundreds of Muslims praying. No disrespect to Muslims. It's a very unusual thing to take over Times Square, to permit it, because you need a permit to do something like that from the NYPD. And the speakers were saying things like, if reports online are correct, and I haven't confirmed them, we are here to impose Sharia law. We're here to, not just kind of assimilate, become part of America, but to oppose and overcome America, and to make New York Muslim. So that is not what immigrants have traditionally come to America to do. So this is a whole new mission of immigrants in New York. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I talked a lot at the beginning of the last hour about 9/11 and what it was like to be, a mile away right after 9/11. And my kids, my family lived through it. Absolutely terrifying, very damaging. The atmosphere was horribly polluted. You could smell dead bodies and, tons of...
Yeah, because you were like a mile and a half away,
Yeah, so close, right? One neighborhood up. But, you were breathing in these, not only the humans, but the toxins and the detritus and the asbestos and, all of it. And people came down with horrible cancers, who were first responders.
Oh, they did one of those demonstrations at the memorial site.
What do you mean?
One of these big...
No.
I do not. It was like a week ago.
Oh, no.
That's what was reported.
That's so inflammatory.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, honey, I read that there was demonstration outside of Auschwitz.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, that was more of a free Palestine, but also not the time, not the place. Honey, please do not say that, because that is illegal. And
it's not illegal.
It's illegal. It's a threat of violence.
It's not a threat of violence. It is not.
It's communication of a threat.
No, it's not. It's a statement. If I say I'm going to shoot them or I want you to shoot them, that's a communication of a threat. Do you say they should be? Is just a statement.
Well, I hear you. I think I don't want to call for violence before.
I didn't call for violence.
Okay.
So I didn't.
All right, baby.
But you know where I stand on that. And I know history. And it always starts off subtle.
No, you're right. Well, I would like to hope that the rule of law could deal with these people, but we don't have the rule of law
We don't
dealing
have
with
the
these
rule of
people
law.
right now in New York.
They are the law.
They are the law
New York.
in New York. Especially the Attorney General of New York. He's like literally connected to terrorists, as I recall.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I want to say is the reason a declaration of a state of emergency, not even 2 months in, for a snowstorm is so serious. In my book, The End of America, written in 2007, I pointed out that when you impose a state of emergency, you're suspending civil law. That means you suspend the Constitution. You suspend the Fourth Amendment. You suspend due process.
Isn't restricting our travel kind of?
Yes, we have freedom of assembly.
Thank you. Yeah.
The First
Or
Amendment.
Dexter's thing, that's suspension of the
Second Amendment. That's
verbally
right, but that
said.
was before Mamdani. Still bad.
Still though, it's still. I mean,
it's
it was
a precedent. You're right.
I mean, the mayor has, first of all, the mayor has very little power in this city. He's a figurehead. But what makes him especially dangerous is how many Democratic Socialists of America and some Party of Socialism and Liberation people, the more violent version of DSA, in the cabinet, in the key
These
areas.
are Marxist groups that you've been researching.
These are pure, straight up communist groups. DSA is massive and growing. There were 10,000 at the beginning of the pandemic. There are 100,000 now.
Oh my gosh.
And they're in every state. Check your state. Go to dsa.usa.org and check your state. You'll see a bunch of chapters, maybe even some people already in your local governments.
Wow.
That's why this affects us.
And the point Brian is making is a lot of the people Mamdani has tapped are literally from DSA. DSA helped elect him. He ran on the line of the Workers' Party.
They formed
working
a
for his
PAC
party.
with CARE.
Oh my God.
Which is the Council on Arab and Islamic Relations, which has been in Texas, has been officially seen, what do they call it? Officially designated as a terrorist group.
Oh my God.
Because they're basically the public facing, they're like the Sinn Féin of the Muslim Brotherhood, which has been around since 1918 and is the brain trust behind most massive terrorist operations, even Al-Qaeda and ISIS and lots of them. So,
oh my God, it's so scary. So I want to read you this quote. This is from the New York City NYC.gov mayor website. Quote, this is why he's justifying why he called a state of emergency. Quote, the safety of New Yorkers is my top priority. As this blizzard moves in, our administration is mobilizing every tool at our disposal around the clock to keep our neighbors safe. This emergency declaration allows us to cut through red tape, meaning the Constitution, the rule of law, your rights. So emergency vehicles, sanitation crews, and essential workers, you heard that phrase before, can move quickly and do their jobs without delay, said Mayor Mamdani. Quote, out of an abundance of caution, schools will be closed tomorrow. We've also opened warming centers in all 5 boroughs to make sure no one is left out in the cold. 19 New Yorkers died courtesy of Mamdani the last time around. Can I just finish this paragraph? I'm urging every New Yorker to please stay home. Have you heard that before? Check in on your neighbors, especially seniors and those who may need extra support. This declaration strengthens our ability, meaning the emergency declaration, to back up our first responders as they put themselves on the line. You've heard this language. It's right out of the COVID lockdown playbook, right? It's a blizzard. And it protects working families, the Working Families Party, from price gouging during the storm. I don't even understand that. In moments like this, we show who we are as a city. We take care of each other. And then it goes on to say about the local state of emergency, the declaration establishes a temporary citywide travel restriction by closing New York City streets, highways, bridges, and tunnels to vehicular traffic from 9 p.m. Sunday ever, and that's in an hour and a half, to 12 p.m. Monday. Most vehicle traffic, including but not limited to commercial trucks, electric bicycles, scooters, and mopeds, is prohibited during that period, except for authorized categories. Exempt vehicles include government and emergency response vehicles, fine, public transit, including MTA buses and Access-Ride. So the state gets to move around the streets. We own the streets, by the way. The people own the streets. The people own the sidewalks, but we cannot use them starting in an hour and a half. Vehicles delivering food, fuel, and medical supplies. So his friends Lyft and Uber and DoorDash are not going to see a dent. In fact, they're probably going to make.
Can I address that?
Sure.
In the press conference, they were saying, Hochul was saying, the reason we don't want private vehicles out there is because it's hard to drive and you can't see in front of you. And if there's one crash, it comes things up. Well, those are all private vehicles.
It gets worse, sweetheart. Utility vehicles performing emergency repairs, reasonable. Transportation for essential workers traveling to workplaces. So that's going to be healthcare, right? Just like the frontline workers.
Look who they list as
facilities,
essential workers.
Pharmacies, grocery stores. I don't know what that means. Gas stations, media outlets, and laundrum. I don't know what that is. What are grocery stores and laundrum?
I don't know what the laundrum is.
Okay, someone didn't copy it. Transportation to hospitals and court facilities. So the courts are going to keep functioning, but the schools are closed. Nonprofit and private organizations providing emergency relief. They can have the streets. And in case you wonder why I'm going bingo, Sam Antar, a really brilliant whistleblower who used to be a felon, these are his words, CFO of Crazy Eddie, is now a whistleblower helping the government, and he's tracked the way nonprofits, millions, maybe billions, I don't know, billions easily, billions. In New York, flows from the government, the city government, to the nonprofits, and then they get out the vote. There's a blurring of political and nonprofit, which is illegal. And then they elect their candidate, and then the cycle begins again with the candidate giving them all this money. And they don't want homelessness to go away. They don't want drug addiction to go away. All the things they're supposed to be fixing, immigrant crises, they don't want it fixed because then the money would go away. But it's absolute money laundering. Antar actually said that a lot of money, it gets stashed offshore. So there's literally money laundering. Oh. But my point is, Brian and I literally can't get in a car and get out of the city after 9 p.m. We're trapped here. However, the nonprofits can have the streets. The nonprofits can have the streets. Yeah. DoorDash can have the streets. They contribute a lot to the city council and the mayoral race. Lyft and Uber can have the streets, and they're his friends in the nonprofit world. So we are at the mercy of the nonprofits right now. And it's the same kind of circumstance as lockdown, but with the power of the state of emergency. City offices will be closed. Essential employees must report to work. How will they do that? Non-essential employees may telework. Violations of travel restrictions are punishable as a Class B misdemeanor. Talk about that, sweetheart. What is a Class B misdemeanor?
Well, it's a low-level misdemeanor, but it's still a misdemeanor.
Right.
Yeah,
they're going to criminalize our driving in the street. Are they going to criminalize can we walk in the street without committing a misdemeanor?
And, but here's the thing. Anyone who is in New York City right now and you decide to drive, just start speaking Spanish and say you don't have an ID. And if you're black or a woman, you could say, well, I'd have a license. It's just too confusing to figure out how to get one, just like the voting laws tell me.
Let me throw this in. I'm sure you just said something.
Well, I was making a joke. It's like if you're black or you're a woman and you're on our side of history, go drive. And then when they say, hey, where's your license? You need to have a license. Say, well, I'd get one, but I don't know how to find a DMV. How would I do that? You use your own words against them.
So there are going to be warming centers open 24/7, which I guess is good because 19 people, again, froze to death who were homeless. But some of those warming sites are going to be in buses. So he's going to take city buses. They're going to drive around and scoop up homeless people or be available for homeless people. I guess that's better than freezing to death, but they have no bathrooms. And a lot of homeless people are, have big mental health problems. I mean, on our block, there's a guy who's like, what is that drug that you're bent over? It's a new drug.
Trank.
Yeah, I think that's what that is.
Fentanyl and horse tranquilizers. Yeah.
So people with those kinds of problems, psychotic problems, are going to be getting into city buses and urinating, defecaking, shooting up, sex, rape, sexual assault.
I do want to say something for when we're reporting after this. That's just window dressing. So he got so much crap for the homeless people dying last time because the program that the previous mayor had was going in and getting the homeless people off the street, whether they want to go or not, and putting them in shelters.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why that was important is homeless people, even if they're freezing to death, they don't want to go to a shelter. And we learned this when I used to go with you and your kids to serve soup. I'd talk to the people. They're like, well, we have to move these around because you have to bring the food to them. They're scared of going to government run anything because they think they're not going to be allowed to leave.
Right.
And so he's putting all this stuff up, but those homeless people will not be getting on those buses. I guarantee it.
Well, you may be right, but teenage kids might get on the buses, prostitutes might get on the buses, pimps might get on the buses. I mean, what I'm trying to say is
it's not a good. No.
And there are no bathrooms, right? So when they come back into civilian service, what damage, what stench,
what security? Women can get raped on those buses.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. You've got buses being, it's really like what happened with the shelter.
Katrina?
Well, certainly that, which was a nightmare and crime ridden and scary. But I was really thinking of the shelters of those huge facilities for illegal immigrants that you reported on. They were very dangerous, and people were being trafficked inside, and it was like, mayhem and no rule of law. The same. And it's because something was being set up to be used in a way that it shouldn't. They put, illegals in kids' schools near here, in Madison School, not far away from here. And it's so dangerous to appropriate something that is supposed to be a bus that you can take to work and just declare, okay, we're going to, use it to ferry homeless people and whoever, prostitutes, because they're not just, anyone can go, right? So
we'll see.
We'll see. Point is, if you take a drive through any major city after sunset, you'll notice something really strange. There are dark windows and empty offices. Right now, 1 in 5 commercial buildings in America is sitting vacant, and nearly $1 trillion in real estate loans are coming due this year. If those buildings stay empty, the banks are going to take the hit, and those are the same banks where your retirement savings likely sits. So there's a new free report called the Ghost Tower Signal that breaks it all down. It uncovers 7 early warning signs that showed up before every major crash since 1929. All 7 are active again right now. This won't make the evening news, but it could help you protect your savings from what's coming. And you can download it free at cloutgold.com. That's cloutgold.com, cloutgold.com, or call 855-803-GOLD to get your copy mailed to you. That's cloutgold.com or 855-803-GOLD.
Red MAGA hat over there. I'm going to see if I could get on the bus.
Let me also note here, it says the city. So that now is a persona, right? Mm-hmm. The city. It didn't used to be the department of this or the spokesman, but now the city is also mandating that a path of at least 4 feet must be cleared across all sidewalks to accommodate wheelchairs. Well, so that then they're going to be fining people for that.
I think we should check to see if that law existed, because I'm pretty sure that law existed. Right. I know it exists in Salem, where I'm responsible for the space in front of my house because I have an easement that goes to a public sidewalk. So I have to shovel, the sidewalk right to the boundaries of the house.
Not my concern. Like, I hear you, and I know that is true. There are a couple of things that worry me about this. One is it doesn't say, refer to the law. By law, you have to keep your sidewalk cleared. It's not saying that. It's saying the city is mandating. And I don't like that language, because you remember mandates. Mandates, that word has no force of law. It's just an order. It's outside the rule of law. They're not referencing any law. And they're not saying the city is also, requires you by law to keep a path of 4 feet in front of your building, right? It's saying, it's mandating that a path, passive voice, must be cleared across all sidewalks to accommodate wheelchairs. So they're going to be fining people who live up and down our street, right? Just theoretically.
Which kind of contradicts the earlier statement of stay inside. What are the wheelchair people doing out in the blizzard?
Exactly. But do you see what's happening? The NGOs are getting priority and authority. They're getting the roads.
I could tell you.
We're getting
I can tell you what I think
responsibilities.
is happening.
What is happening? And remind people about the Bolsheviks shoveling snow, please.
Yeah. So here's what I see happening with this, especially with the private NGOs and all that. Okay. First of all, let's start with the war on landlords. Mm-hmm. So the DSA, which helped get Mamdani into office, which he was a member of, they didn't just help him. He's a DSA guy. Supposedly they've had a falling out. That's BS. Castro did the same thing with a lot of people. Oh, they fell apart, but they never really did. Gets people's guard down. Mm-hmm. But what the DSA's big focus is across the country, especially in New York, is what they call tenant rights. But when you actually attend the meetings like I have, it's about abolishing private property. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Abolishing landlords, abolishing private property. Weirdly, not corporate landlords, just local landlords, mm-hmm. like small landlords, mm-hmm. which is very Maoist. And so there's that. And the other thing is, so that's a hit against landlords. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, there's going to be some people that make sure they get hurt when the sidewalk isn't shoveled. Mm-hmm. So there could be a lawsuit. So the goal would be to seize that building mm-hmm. from the owner. Mm-hmm. And this is just like in 1918 in Moscow and St. Petersburg. What the Bolsheviks did, that's the communists that took over Russia, that took out the Tsar. And what they did is they had all the the landlords, mm-hmm. the aristocrats, out there shoveling snow in their fur coats and everything, mm-hmm. while the Bolshevik soldiers kind of gathered and would make them do it. So you got little girls and everything out there forced to shovel snow. Mm-hmm. And this is how they destroyed the rest of the aristocracy. And as years went on, they were forced to do labor. They were forced to bring firewood to the military guys and everything. Mm-hmm. The aristocrats, a lot of them, the aristocrats just died, and lots of the women were raped. It's just horrible. And the other thing that happened in 1918 too, that's 3 years after mm-hmm. 1918 in Moscow, mm-hmm. when the Red Cross finally showed up, because there was a humanitarian crisis mm-hmm. of starvation after the communists took mm-hmm. over. They noticed that the trash had not been picked up for 3 years.
Gosh.
That's historical fact.
That's historical. Well, one of the things
that's the landlord part. I could get to the other part. But what I want to talk about the NGOs.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
If I can jump in.
Please jump back.
Mm-hmm. So what I noticed is when I went to apply for the shoveling job just to see what it involved, I couldn't. It says that you have to make an appointment and all this. They also say that you have to have your social security card, and 2 forms of ID, which is funny because I want to go there just with the camera and see how many Black, brown, and women are there. Mm. Because according to all the Democrats and the liberals all over the country, who are against the FACE Act, right. They're too stupid. Well, how are they going to have all these things then? So I want to make sure everyone there has 3 forms of ID. I don't know where my social security card is. Are you kidding me? It was a paper thing.
You know how to get a replacement.
I got to scan my eyeball or something like that.
Well, it's not difficult to get your birth certificate.
We'll just go online and figure it out. Right. But I thought that was interesting. But the NGO thing is especially interesting because what that reminds me of is kind of like the Black Panther food pushes. So what's been happening here with communists across America, and there's 31 different active groups, DSA being the largest right now. Mm-hmm. They're starting to lean back on their predecessors. Okay, how did they gain numbers? And they did this.
So they're looking at their own history.
They did this through food banks.
Yeah.
Okay, so what food banks does, it gives you touch points with the people, because knocking and canvassing doesn't work.
That's right.
And if TPUSA and the GOP are listening, your annoying robotexts certainly don't work. But what they're doing is, here, I'm the one feeding you. And it comes packaged in DSA Marxist propaganda. Right. This is the same thing that the Biden administration tried to do with the COVID vaccine door knocking campaign. All of those NGOs were pollsters and canvassers.
Mhm.
So this is how they up their recruitment. And you're going to see a massive amount of
Yeah.
recruitment after this storm.
That's right.
But this is how they do it. But it's also how they create their network.
Mhm.
So the reason ICE had so many problems in Minnesota were these food banks,
Mm.
because it's a way of communicating without being intercepted. You're delivering food to illegals,
Mhm.
and then you're like, hey, here's your food. There's 5 ICE trucks on their way. Get the hell out of here,
Mhm.
that sort of thing.
Mhm.
It's typical revolutionary guerrilla style of tactics. And it should alarm everyone who's been in the military or knows military history, because they're practicing logistics in a very organized
Well,
way.
that's how I feel about this blizzard. I feel
Yeah.
like it's going to all be fine, and we're going to get through it
Yeah.
fine, and not many people will probably be hurt, and it won't look that bad, but it feels like a dry run, and also like acculturating us. Like, what is this stay indoors, stay indoors?
I think the
Like, it's one thing to say be careful if you go outside, but like stay indoors, don't go out, don't go out. It's up to me if I go outside in a blizzard.
Right. Well, this is they're going. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. They're going to try the same playbook where people just go along with it.
Right.
Okay, I don't think it's going to work this time, and I think it's up to people like me and you and other people we know in the city to make sure it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. But we can't. We literally can't drive because we're committing a misdemeanor if we, get in.
Well, we can't
car.
drive because our car is upstate.
Well, I know, but this is hypothetical.
So I mean, we're not driving anyways.
No, but hypothetically, I don't want to be told by the state that I cannot get into a vehicle on roads that my tax dollars pay for.
Well, we'll figure out a way to pursue that. But what I'm saying is, I think a lot of people won't even go outside. Okay, so
Right.
now you have these NGOs delivering food and blankets and all this. They're also doing a census
Yes.
when they knock on that door. That's how they do it.
Right. That's so creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy. The communists did it. They all do it. It's the same playbook.
What's the point of that?
Well, the point of that is it's brand recognition.
Mhm.
That's why that's why you see so many stickers around town here.
Yeah.
DSA, DSA,
Yeah.
DSA. And when people
So
see
it
it's
makes communism look good.
well,
They brought me a burrito.
they called it democratic socialist because they don't want people to think of them as communists. A lot of Democrats think they're Democrats. A lot of communists think they're socialists. But no, what it does, it's brand recognition.
Mhm.
And the brand is the yellow and kind of purplish blue, which is their yellow, red, and purplish blue. Well, these are, the last two are the communist China colors. You saw it all over Zohran thing.
Yeah.
But what that does is, a better example of it is, this is not so much communism as it is good marketing, where there's a great movie with Eddie Murphy called The Distinguished Gentleman.
Uh-huh.
He's a crook, and his name is something Thomas Jefferson,
Uh-huh.
because his grandmother was very patriotic.
Uh-huh.
And the incumbent, this white guy played by James Garner, had this almost the same name, except for the first initial. He dies. And so Eddie Murphy runs on the.
I can't
No,
follow
listen.
plot. Okay,
But you got to let me finish.
Okay, baby.
When I finish,
Yes, baby.
this beautiful thing called context is created.
Okay, go ahead.
Then you'll understand. So basically, talking about brand recognition, Eddie Murphy wins the race, not because he has any experience or anyone even knows who he is. He makes a point not to use his picture. But as these old people are filling in the ballot boxes, or people going to work just want to get their vote in, they go, who do we normally vote for? Oh, Jefferson Johnson. Oh, okay, there he is. And so that's what they do. So when people are familiar with the DSA brand name, they're like, well, those are the people that deliver us food. They're all over our neighborhood. We just vote for them. They're Democrats. Look at that. That's how they do it. So I think that's another part of it. This is kind of a get out the vote type thing, which we're really big on. Also, lets them identify.
Can I ask you a question?
One more.
All right.
Lets them identify conditions that tenants are living in, which they can then rat out to the Department of Housing in New York City. So it's an intel sweep as well.
I bet they're also checking where the Jews are. I really do. I mean, they're in Brighton. They're going door to door, and like
in England.
In England.
Okay, yeah.
And
I was gonna say they're not going to do that.
Keeping track of where the Jews are. Seriously, it's like 1931.
It's Brooklyn, though.
What's your point?
It's pretty easy to find Jewish people.
But I mean, my point, it's actually quite serious.
I know it's serious.
I mean, the Nazis, created, and actually very interesting that IBM helped them do this, an early version of the like pre-computer punch card. But tracking the Jews, like figuring out where they were, literally having a map of the Jews, a list of the Jews, was really foundational to what the Nazis accomplished later. And right now, you can't tell who people are, you know, in regards to Sharia law, right? Or in regards to Israel-Palestine. You can't tell based on New York, you know, the census in New York State. You know, I don't have like a yellow star outside our door. But if NGOs are coming knocking, you know, they're getting information about all of us, is my point there. You can create a more detailed surveillance society. So one other thing I wanted to clear.
Well, wait, there's one other on the surveillance part.
Yeah.
They said Uber is allowed to drive around.
Right.
Well, last night we had, I was very honored to have Trevor Loudon come to our house, and we had dinner and we talked for hours all night long, all three of us. Trevor Loudon is the foremost communist expert. He's from New Zealand. He has a great movie called The Enemies Within. You could go to trevorloudon.com. It's LOUDON.com, Trevor. Excellent. If you want to learn about communism today in the modern age, it's not archaic. He connects the past with right now. You can't go wrong. So he was telling us that what's happening in LA that he found out is the Uber drivers are being used to identify where the Jewish homes are.
I knew this would happen.
Yeah. And most of them are like Uzbek types and Pakistani types out there. And they're keeping a log. And I had it happen to me the other day.
What are they going to do with the log of the Jews in LA?
Well, I mean, I would imagine like horrible terrorist attacks,
Oh
or, you know, communists aren't big on terror attacks. They do it when the clock is ticking, but the communist style is more of the you know, the slow boil. So, or attrition. So what they'll do is if the communists are running it, then it'll be more like, okay, identify Jewish homeowners and then turn their neighborhood into a flood zone. And then up the insurance, just pick away at their profitability.
Wow.
But
Sharia communism is going to be a whole
but it's a red-green alliance. And the thing is, the green part of the red alliance has no intention of staying with the communists, just like the communists have no intention of keeping the green in power.
And the green just means
Muslims.
Islamist Muslim. Yeah.
And so
not like, no offense to Muslims, but
I don't care. They can be offended all they want. So, I mean, if they're going to get offended by a color, it'd be one of many things they're offended by. I let my dog smell everyone on the street it can. And it's just hilarious. I always make a part to walk near the mosque too.
Sweetheart.
Why? There's nothing bad about dogs that I can find in the Quran.
No, it's not that, but we don't want to create a situation in America in which there's outright religious antagonism.
It's here.
Yeah.
We're there.
Yeah, you're right.
Seriously.
You're
We're
right.
just talking about hunting Jews.
Right, you're right.
I think we're way beyond that.
You're right.
So why, you know, you got to make yourself a hard target and make it difficult for them. But the point is, you know, the real danger there is the communists, what they do, and they did this in the USSR, they use the Muslims. There are 25,000 mosques across Soviet territory in 1925. By 1982, there are about 500 mosques. So what they do is they eventually absorb them, and then in state-run schools, they don't let them teach religion. And they just phase it out. And Islam in the USSR in the 80s, it was known as like the religion of old men. Because it was fading away. In communist China, they're worse. They just jail them all because they have halal organs. And their number one customer is Saudi Arabia. And then they just bulldoze the mosques. That's it.
Oh my God.
So, but on the other hand,
bring that
the Muslims, they have different ideas. And if the communist college kids say, yeah, you know, blow them up a little, blow them up nicely, whatever, you know, they go crazy, you know,
Who's
and
they
the radical Muslims, they can never control them. And they're usually, the communists usually spin them up. This happened in China. Then there's terrorist attacks. And then the communists will use that to imprison them and eradicate them.
So you think in the Red-Green Alliance, ultimately the communists will take over, that the Islamists are just kind of useful assets to the communists.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
communists creates an organized slave labor population.
God.
So even the rich deep pockets in Qatar
Mhm.
and Saudi Arabia, they don't like radical Islam over
Right.
there. It's a tool.
Right.
And it's never happens in Saudi Arabia for the most part,
Mhm.
you might notice. But they like the communist system is great because it's organized. It is slave labor.
Mhm.
And just like this shoveling is slave labor.
Right.
You know, they're going to get paid, but how long is it going to take?
Well, but also like that directive, the city mandates that the sidewalks be clear. I'm just trying to visualize.
But not
Our
only the
street,
sidewalks, building
all those-
owners, we forgot this part.
Right.
Building owners are responsible for the bus stop
I did talk about it.
if it's adjacent to
Yeah.
them. I'm like, what the hell do we pay taxes
Exactly.
for?
And also, I was saying before you joined us, what if you're a disabled shop owner? What if you're a woman? What
Right.
if you're
How about if
know,
you
what
get
if you
SNAP
can't do it?
benefits, you're out there with a shovel for free? That's what I say. If you're getting SNAP benefits and unemployment benefits, next time
that would be popular.
you want to keep your SNAP benefits, shovel some snow. Plain and simple. We'll shovel our walk.
I never
That's
thought
fine.
I'd see the day when I would be nodding quietly. To what
Why
you just
not?
said. No,
They're
I
not-
hear you.
They're not working. They were healthy enough to swim across the river, as a lot of lefties like to say. They trekked all the way here miles. Great. Well, then they can pick up some snow.
All right.
They're able-bodied.
Sadly, we've run out of our
No.
hour. It was a good rant, baby.
Because honestly, it's like when I'm in Brooklyn, I'm so surrounded by them. It just drives me crazy. But I'm
Baby,
also surrounded.
them, that's really like
The dirtbag, socialist, liberal,
okay, that's
communist
fine.
losers,
You
and
can call
any
them them.
and any dirtbag Muslims that align with them.
Okay.
And any seculars that align with them too. But what does make me happy are my brothers and sisters at Chabad. Love them. I'm an honorary Chabadnik. I love it.
Thanks.
They called me a
Thanks.
holy man the other day.
I know they don't know you that well, sweetheart.
Well, they don't have to know me. So
Maybe you are. Maybe you're a stealth saint.
some kid called me a kike the other day.
Are you kidding me?
He called me a kike.
That's really
But he
funny.
forgot to shut off his French keyboard. It had all these weird accent marks.
Right.
So I gave him tips on editing.
Uh-huh.
And then and I said, by the way, I'm actually Catholic.
Brian's Catholic.
And then someone said, "You're a fake Catholic." I said, "Roman, actually."
That's funny.
So, and she's a kite.
I am a kite. Yes. All right. Well, that was fun. I hope they don't knock on our door and, come get us. I hope that they don't.
I hope they do. Bring it. Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm like Psycho in Stripes,
Okay. I do think it's a test run. I did want to say one thing before we
I think it's moving. I think it's it's just war of attrition. They're going to take a little more rights.
That's
every time.
true. I agree with you. Can I finish my sentence?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
And another thing. Go ahead.
I wanted to tell you there's a section in this press release about prisons and Rikers Island. And, they're making sure they're reassuring everyone that prisoners will be warm enough. They've got enough blankets and so on. However, they do refer to the situation of being in prison in New York City as people in our care. That's how they refer to prisoners.
I've heard that before.
Oh, really?
Many years.
All
ago.
right.
I mean, I had brothers in prison, so they had signs up.
It's like a euphemism to me.
Well, it's so you don't get sued.
Oh.
It's like, look how nice we are. They're in our care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to honor Sherry Mientus, who said even homeless people don't want to go to shelter because they get robbed of their belongings.
Exactly.
Happens all the time, even by the workers. That's
Bingo.
so
It's
sad.
so true.
All right. Well, let's trust that we get through the next 48 hours just fine, but keep an eye, New York, on your liberties. Keep an eye, think about whether you want the state to tell you where you can go, if you can get out of the city, if you can go upstate to see your family, if you could get the children out of the city. This is, something I never forgot, being a mother in New York after 9/11. And I was saying before you joined us that I saved up all my pennies to get a place outside the city as a
Smart.
broke single mom, because I never, ever, ever wanted to be in a situation where I had children I was responsible for and no way to get out of a dangerous situation on an island. So I hope it isn't a trial run. It does look like one. You guys are awesome. I really want to thank our our sponsors who make these podcasts possible. And you should consider this. Most people think inflation is the biggest threat to their savings, Brian, but
it's not.
It's not. There's something just as dangerous. Most banks never talk about it. It's the gap between what inflation is doing and what your bank is paying you. Right now, the average savings account pays well under 0.5% when your CDs barely do better. Meanwhile, inflation is still running several times higher than that. And that difference acts like a hidden tax on your money. Every year, your dollars quietly lose buying power, even though your balance looks the same. It's really depressing. And policy doesn't help, especially not in communist New York. A weaker dollar may boost exports, but it also pushes up the cost of imports, energy, and everyday goods. That's one reason why assets like gold and silver have surged. So what's a saver supposed to do? Some people are moving into short-term treasury bills. Others focus on dividend growth stocks that increase payouts over time. There's another approach that doesn't get talked about as much. It's a long-established company operating decades before AI became a buzzword that's now positioned to benefit from the AI boom in a disciplined way. Over the last 25 years, this approach has delivered an average return of 29% without chasing ultra-volatile tech stocks or risky speculation. If you would like to learn more about what some investors are calling the 29% account, you can find the details at the link, because when it comes to your savings, playing it safe may be the riskiest move of all. So go to www.secret29account.com. Again, that's www.secret29account.com. And I also want to just really thank American Alternative Assets. Brian called up a screen that shows that gold futures have gone from...
No, this is gold.
Yeah, this is gold, right? It went from... like it looks like 1800
1728 in 2021
in 2021 1700-ish
up for today,
and then
on the same day it is today 5,000.
So it went up 3,433.90%, right?
Then
in the last 5 years.
3,000 in actual.
Oh, okay.
3,400 actual, and then 198.7%
in the last 5 years.
You won't get on any stock.
No, indeed, or even investing in real estate. Yeah. So if there are a lot of crazy cowboy, Wild West companies out there offering gold and silver or investment in gold and silver, American Alternative Assets and its CEO Shannon Davis, we really respect them. They're very transparent. They're accountable. They answer your questions. We're proud to have them. If you want to not miss that crazy upper right hand, there's no way to foretell the future, but as things get more and more unstable, like communists are in charge of the financial capital of New York City and saying you can't go outside, do
the
business.
First thing Lenin did, right?
What? Crash the economy.
No. He stole all the gold out of the banks.
Well, all the more reason to get your gold
or
good
silver.
Thing
they don't really keep gold in banks. So
right.
That means they'll take the money.
But you can physically get, you can get and keep your own gold and silver with American Alternative Assets. Can I just tell them where to go, baby? And then we have to let them, sign off. It's time for you to make me a wonderful martini, because we're in here for that.
I can't make a martini.
You can't make because we don't have the stuff that we can go outside.
Stuff.
Or we'll get arrested.
Yeah, but I know some Slovak. He's running a black market of green olives.
We can call DoorDash. They'll deliver a martini.
They'll deliver. I'll have my yarmulke when I answer, and the guy will be like, "Oh, I just need to take a picture to make sure I delivered it." And I'll be like, "Great." And then when he takes a picture out of my Glock, I'll be like, "Make sure you get it all in the frame."
Okay, so go to American Alternative Assets. It's www.cloutgold.com. Go to cloutgold.com, and they will answer all your questions about investing in gold and silver. And you can physically keep your gold and silver wherever, in a safe, hidden away. And you'll have it with you if you need to flee to the non-Marxist town where they're not locking you in when there's snow.
And I just want to say, for the sake of our sponsor, I wasn't disparaging gold. What I was saying is Lenin rated what was
No, I get it. He saw the value.
So if that happens, and it's happening here, the value of the dollar will continue to shrink. Even though we control the value, we don't control all of it.
Right.
And they're trying to get rid of the dollar.
Yeah, baby, that's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation for another episode.
Oh,
We've got to say goodbye.
life is one big episode, darling.
Yes, it is. Thank you so
Everyone
much for
get a
joining
drink.
us.
We'll be here for the next 8 hours.
No, that's
not true.
Not true. But you can support this independent reporting, these conversations, my podcast Outspoken, Brian's podcast Investigate Everything, by going over to Substack and subscribing to Outspoken. Please become a paying subscriber if you can. It takes a whole little team to get this stuff out to you. That's my mug. And thank you so much. It's a good mug. And go to Brian's, which is Investigate Everything.
Yeah, just go to
on
dailycloud.io and you find all the shows on the homepage. And definitely check out. I'm going to give a shout out to Drew.
Oh yeah,
Drew Allen had him on the other day, and
it was very well received.
He's an inspiration for all millennials.
Yeah. And if you want to support independent journalism and BillCam and Legisector, which let you change bills, follow bills, state and federal bills from your phone, again, technology costs money to build and make freely available to everyone to try it, and a very affordable $3.99 in one case and $11.99 in the other case, monthly fee to use it all you want, and keep an eye on the people representing us. Go to dailycloud.io and subscribe. Go over to legisector.com and subscribe. You do not want to be at the mercy of these people.
Oh, we do have to go. I got
baby.
a text from the comrades, and apparently it's my shift for shoveling. So
yes.
I'll see you later.
All right. See you later, everyone. Let's make it through. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us.